What's up you guys, and welcome back to another Reddit reading video. Today's video is going to be a whole lot different than usual because I'm just scrolling down Reddit and I see something that catches my eye. The top post on r/news is Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy more consistent with homicidal strangulation than suicide, Dr. Michael Baden reveals. Just quick, if you don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is, he's a convicted sex offender who paid off girls as young as 14 hundreds of dollars for massages before he molested them. He was awaiting trial when he quote-unquote hung himself in his jail cell. Now, being that he was friends with very high priority people and like very rich people, a lot of people think that he was actually murdered. Someone killed him. Someone was paid off to take this man out so that someone else wouldn't have to go through the trouble of going to prison for the wrong acts that they committed through him. He would find the 14-year-old girls, pretty much sell them to the very rich men. Obviously, the general public did not believe that, as through the memes everyone has been seen sharing. Memes like, Judge, alright, this guy has information that could take down the most powerful people in the world. Make sure nothing happens to him. Jeffrey Epstein's guard.
Cannot see, I'm legally blind.
Well, in fact, most people's assumptions might actually be correct. Michael Baden, a former New York City medical examiner who has worked on high-profile cases during a 5-decade medical career, is certain to reignite suspicions that surfaced immediately after Epstein, who was awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges involved in underage girls, was discovered dead in his cell on August 10th. Baden, who was hired by Epstein's brother and observed the autopsy, told Fox News its findings is more consistent with homicidal strangulation than suicidal hanging. He noted that 66-year-old Epstein had 2 fractures on his left-right side of his larynx, specifically the thyroid cartilage or Adam's apple, as well as 1 fracture on his left hypoid bone above the Adam's apple. He continued by saying those 3 fractures are extremely unusual in suicidal hangings and could occur much more commonly in homicidal strangulation. And you might be asking, what's the difference between what a homicidal strangulation is and just someone hanging themselves? Like, what is the difference between if someone does it and someone hangs himself? Like, that can't be that much of a difference. But in strangulation, the killing force is not the weight of the body like it is in hanging, which will leave a mark all the way around the neck and crush a larynx or break the neck. And strangling would be a broken hyoid bone. Also, a hanged body's neck might also be stretched. So pretty much where the damage is done, because the force of the neck is being pulled upwards, so pretty much his neck was instead crushed instead of yanked, is pretty much what it's saying. A lot darker than our usual videos, I know, but this is something that the world and I myself too are very interested in getting to the bottom of. Well, there's not enough information to be conclusive yet. The 3 fractures were rare. He pretty much said he has not seen in his 50 years where it occurred in a suicidal case that these markings and damage would be present in a suicide. And this is the man that examined more than 20,000 bodies over his career so far. He explained that if a person weighed 120 pounds and if their head weighed 10 pounds, there would be 110 pounds of pressure on the neck at the jaw during the hanging. But if someone put a hand around a person's neck and squeezed, that could double or even triple the pressure on the neck. Also, there was hemorrhages in Epstein's eyes that are common in homicidal strangulation and uncommon, but not unheard of, in suicidal hangings. This professional says this, yet the original investigation said that it was hanging from manner of suicide. And the people who conducted that investigation are still standing by their determination of suicide instead of homicide. In fact, they went on to say the original medical investigation was thorough and complete, and there was no reason for a second medical investigation by our office. Now that sounds a little bit fishy, and the biggest sex ring of the history of the world, trying to get to the bottom of, they are pressing to not have more information than they already have. What? That doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you want to make sure, go over, what someone might have missed? Some people say that they were paid off, and that's why they don't want another team outside of the team that already investigated Epstein's death to come in and go over and say, you know what, these people are paid off. They gave totally incorrect diagnosis and they should probably be in prison too. The only evidence they have to back this up in my eyes is he was on suicide watch, but he was taken off suicide watch, I want to say like 10 days after maybe, and he was held in this cell where he ended up quote unquote committing suicide. The only way he got to do it is because the 2 guards supposedly fell asleep? They were supposed to be making rounds every 30 minutes to check on him, and they just skipped it for 3 hours while napping. Someone this high profile and big of a threat, and you fall asleep, they didn't put their best guards on job, knowing he just came out of suicide watch too. It's almost like Epstein was whispering from his cell, hey you two, hey, you want to be millionaires? All you gotta do is, fall asleep for a few hours. That's all you gotta do. No, I won't do anything. I'll just sit in here. I need some time to myself, please. I got my family on the phone. You can talk to them next. They'll get you a couple million. You leave me alone for a little bit. And the guards were like, well, all right. Money talks. Deeper in, there were supposed to be security cameras recording the cell and the hallway outside. But what do you know? Both of them apparently had malfunctioned. What a coinky-dink. It's not every day the dominoes just fall in place like that. If this is not a cover-up, then my God, this has been the craziest set of events that could have happened in one of the most high-profile sex offender cases in the world. Stuck at a transporter says, I worked in the security industry for years, and a lot of that time was in a monitoring control room. It was somewhat of a rare occurrence for individual cameras to malfunction, and most of the times that they did was from human interference, knocking out of alignment, hit with a hammer, etc. I'm not saying a human knocked those cameras out, I'm just saying the expert says that's what usually happens. The question is, where was the outside footage? Where's, the cameras coming into the doors and leading up to the hallways during those 3 hours of period of time? Why has no one checked those cameras? Why can't a second investigation be launched? That's what I'm not understanding. They have the power to do it. I'm sure the government has the power to overrule and say, you know what, we're going to reinvestigate with our own investigators instead of the ones that they choose to have the results that they want. It makes you wonder how many high priority people were actually into this. Was it, governors and state officials, or was it presidents and leaders of the world, or was it just Warren Buffett and Bill Gates? Not that I think Bill Gates would do anything like this. Bill Gates is honestly a good guy. Now let me play you a little clip of the actual professional explaining it, so it's not just some random guy that likes Reddit on the internet. This is the professional's words out of his mouth. This guy was hired by Epstein's brother.
I think that the evidence points toward homicide rather than suicide.
Why?
Because there are multiple 3 fractures in the hyoid bone, the thyroid cartilage, that are very unusual for suicide and more indicative of strangulation, homicidal strangulation.
After further watching, professionals speaking on the incident, the only way that they said that it's available to reopen up the investigation is by going to the FBI and asking them where was the weapon, the instrument that killed him. Whose DNA was at the scene, excluding Jeffrey Epstein's. Every single person's DNA that has been in that room should be in the room, and the people's that should not be in the room are probably prime suspects. So let's go over a few things. He had choke marks on his neck a week before, not investigated. He was on suicide watch and taken off, being one of the most high priority cases in the world, was taken off suicide watch. 2 guards fell asleep at the same exact time. Not only at that same exact time did the guards fall asleep, but did 2 or 3 video cameras go out. It's almost like for a couple moments they were all just in the Bermuda Triangle and everything just stopped working. And I am by no means one of the conspiracy theorists. As fun as they are having conspiracy theories, this is not a normal domino of effects. This is not something that happens every day in high-profile cases. I mean, you guys saw El Chapo escape from prison in a little dirt hole. If you can find that videotape, these videotapes should work. Now, all this is by no means breaking news. This is not, just now happening. But after the complete investigation, after people found out who this man was, prolific at his craft, does not make mistakes, how could you sit here and think, yes, this was a suicide? It's just wrong. And I know this is this is a far cry off from what we usually do with reading stories on Reddit, but this is a Reddit post, so I thought, it was fit. I want you guys to let me know what you think about this down in the comment section. I do not think that this was, I don't think this was Jeffrey doing this himself. He at least wasn't the only person in on him going out with a bang, or a gasp, or whatever. At least the people in the control room and the guards, and maybe 2 people outside had to be involved in all these shenanigans to make this happen. Some money was floating around. You have to check these people's bank accounts. Do something. But like I was saying, let me know down in the comments what you think about this entire story, all this stuff blowing over. Do you think this is just like a big old plot against the whole world that we just will never understand and we won't get to the bottom to? Or was it really just simply he didn't want to face the music. He didn't want to go to prison. He didn't want to be living like that. So boom, he ended it there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you like and subscribe. We will be right back to normal videos after this. I just thought, this is on Reddit. We can go over it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye, my lovelies.